name is Meredith Cheshire, and I am here from Faeve Plant Therapies. I want to wish you all a happy new year. This year, our goal at Faeve was to give you guys a little bit more informational videos. We know we send out blogs and emails and Facebook Lives, but what we really wanted to do is give you some really good information that you can go home with that's not going to break the bank. So today we're going to talk about 3 conditions that I get asked about the most: sleep, digestion, and immunity. So when I went to go work on this, I thought, okay, let me write down all the herbs that are going to be good for this condition, say digestion or sleep. And I had a list of about 45 herbs, which is great for me because I have a pharmacy of 144 herbs. But for the average person that wants to try this medicine and work with it, that's just not going to work. It's too expensive, and the storage of these is pretty difficult in itself. So instead, what I decided to do was take 12 herbs that can kind of go across the board. So as you use them, you can use them for any part of this. So if you need sleep, we have ones for sleep, but the same ones you use for sleep, you can also use for digestion, or you can use for immunity. So if you were to have 12 of these herbs in your cabinet, and you can just get small, tiny amounts, you have a full herbal pharmacy for these 3 conditions because they cross over so much. So we're going to start with immunity. I'm actually going to go through all of them. However, the big problem this year with immunity and your cough and your colds is in 2017, 61,000 people died of the flu. We have not seen those kind of numbers in decades. Well, the CDC just came out, I think it was a few weeks ago, saying that they expect 2020 to be worse than that. And they do not know if the new vaccines coming out are going to be able to tackle this. So you can do some more information from the CDC yourself on the internet and news sources. So the big thing with the flu and the cold is you want to build up your system before that. So if you feel a sniffle, you want to make sure you're heading towards the right direction before you have to go to the doctor, get Tamiflu, and you're down that rabbit hole of flu symptoms. So we're going to talk a little bit about those and the herbs as well. So these are the 6 on each side that I picked. The first one we're going to talk about is licorice root. So you can see here, it's a little bit, this is going to be the biggest one that has a root. The rest of them are leaves or stems. Licorice root is licorice. You can have it in candy, alcohol. There's a million places that you can find licorice root right now. Licorice root is extremely beneficial for gastritis. So you eat something bad, maybe you went out a little too late, maybe you've just eaten too much Taco Bell, any of those things. A tea like this, putting this in a tea to drink after any of those indications will be extremely beneficial. But the nice part about this, it's also anti-inflammatory. So your licorice, as much as it's helping you settle your stomach, the muscle spasms that you might be having or the cramping you may be having, this will help settle that. But being anti-inflammatory, it's also anti-inflammatory to other parts of your body, which would help with your immunity. And this also helps with your immune function. So your immune function, if that's up, you're going to sleep better. So this is not going to be the number 1 to go to for sleep, but it will be the number 1 to go to if you're trying to do a combo of keeping your immune system up and you have some stomach problems. The next one is rosemary. I love rosemary. It's my favorite herb because you can grow it yourself. There's so many different kinds. It reminds me of my mom's garden where I grew up. Right in the front of the house, she had this little lighthouse and she would have these rosemary plants that would bloom. So rosemary, you don't want to use when you're pregnant. There's been some contraindications on different PDRs and different websites and different books. Some say it's okay, some say it's not okay. I'm just going to give a little bit of caution that this is probably not the best herb for you to use when you're pregnant. This herb is great for antiviral, so you would want to put it in a flu blend. It's great for heartburn, so that can go with here. So you can see for, you know, those who went out a little bit too much on New Year's or getting ready to go to Mardi Gras or Valentine's Day, we are building our own little hangover kit as well. The greatest part about rosemary is its flavoring. So as we go through some of these other herbs, you're going to find that some of these taste terrible. Absolutely terrible. Rosemary is a good one that you can put in to give a nice little flavor to. Rosemary tastes the way it smells. Okay, our next one is spearmint. Spearmint is great for digestive issues. In fact, I'm going to do spearmint and peppermint together because these, they belong together as far as I'm concerned. They're from the same family. They do serve pretty much the same purposes. However, they do taste different. Spearmint is more digestive. That's pretty much what I would just use spearmint for. Peppermint is great for digestion. It's great for cramping. I'm speaking about the peppermint plant and its leaves. I'm not speaking about the essential oil. I have gotten questions saying, oh, if peppermint is good for irritable bowel syndrome, can I just put some in my water from the essential oil? And the answer is no. Please don't do that. I will do another video on safety and oils and ingestion at another time. But the best thing about these guys together is taste. Because as we start going through these herbs that really are beneficial for some things, you're going to need something besides honey to make them taste better. So when I make a tea blend for anybody, I have 1, 2, or 3 things in them to make them taste better. These are 2. So digestive and immunity wise, peppermint works fabulously. Spearmint, I will be honest, I use it mainly for flavoring, but can be used for stomach issues as well. Here is my favorite herb besides rosemary. It tastes terrible. It's valerian root. Valerian root is, simply put, it is nature's Xanax. So when you have a bad day at work, I had one yesterday, to be honest with you, and I came home and the first thing I did was I had 2 cups of this, and within an hour I was kind of drooling on my pillow. However, the thing with valerian root is it tastes terrible. It tastes worse than dirt. I have not ever met one person that actually likes the taste of valerian root, but everyone loves what valerian root does to you. That being said, it is extremely important. If then there's one thing I stress is please do not take valerian root with something like Xanax, or if you're taking SSRIs or MAOIs, please talk to your physician beforehand because there could be certain risks that come with valerian root. It is a very strong herb. That's why it's in a smaller one, because you don't need that much. So you can kind of see how I use them. Now with valerian root, you want to use something like peppermint or spearmint to flavor it a little bit. So number 1 for sleep. So the next herb I'm going to show you is wood betony. This is a very different herb, one that's maybe not heard of very often as compared to your peppermint, your spearmint, your licorice root. But this is an herb I use all the time because the 3 things that I get asked about the most are digestion, you know, colds and flu, and sleep. And this is in every single one of those blends. It's great for calming the stomach, for anti-diarrhea, it's great for anxiety, and it's great for coughs and colds, especially coughs. So this is one that does everything we're talking about today. So definitely put this one in your pantry. The next one we're going to talk about is the favorite of the men. When we start talking about herbs in the waiting room with men, they have this glaze over their eyes as I start speaking until I say this word, hops, which is beer. This is what beer is made of. These are hops. You can see here that they're very light, they're very airy, and they put you to sleep. That's why a lot of people get sleepy drinking beer. Along with just getting sleepy, it is great for anti-anxiety, and it really is a great antibacterial. So you could put this into your cold and flu, and you could put this into your stomach and digestive teas and your sleep teas. This is another one of those herbs that you can see. I have it in a big jar, and I buy this by the bags that I buy it for, like this big. I use this all the time. Okay, the next one, chamomile. Everyone knows about chamomile, and the reason everyone knows about it is because it's that important. The only problem with chamomile is if you're allergic to daisies, you don't want to go near chamomile. This also does all three: anxiety, cough and cold, and inflammation. Now, when you go to the grocery store and you see chamomile tea, realize that it has been processed 16, 17 times more than this has, and this has already been processed. So I'm getting this from my distributor, who's probably processed it twice, and it's still fresh, and you can see it's not falling apart. But by the time it goes into your commercial tea bags, it's basically, I took this and I stomped on it and I put it through a shredder and then repackaged it 6 times. So if you're really going to be serious about this with your chamomile tea, get real chamomile. You can get it at any of the health food stores. Another favorite, lemon balm. For those essential oil people out there, this is Melissa. So what's really interesting is that lemon balm by itself, its leaves, is very inexpensive to purchase. However, getting the essential oil from the leaves is very expensive. So if you're into the essential oil therapy, you could know that 5 mils of Melissa can cost you up to $60, $75. $60 or $75 of this would give you 1, 2, 3, probably this whole table full and then some. However, it does not take away from the power of this herb. It's also called bee balm. So if you are in a grocery store or a health food store and you don't see it, it's very common. You look for bee balm. It's great for anxiety. It's great for nervousness. This is a nice little pairing right here. Like, hey, I have to go on a job interview. Won't put you to sleep, but will take the anxiety out. But what's nice about this is this also will calm that upset stomach. So that can get put into that I've eaten too much pizza, I need something to settle my stomach cure right here. So this is one that you can have, and you can drink this by itself. It doesn't taste terrible. It can stand on its own, while some of these others cannot. Everybody's favorite, lavender. Lavender is another one. There's a reason why it's the most popular herb in the world, is because it stands up to all the tests. You can see we use this a lot. Again, you want to make sure you have the organic seeds though, and the organic leaves. When you're getting lavender, please make sure it's organic wherever you get it from, because the crops, because of the popularity, are really highly sprayed. So lavender is good for all three. It settles everything. So lavender by itself is a sedative, so it's an anti-anxiety sedative. It's an anti-spasmodic sedative, but it also does help with cough and cold, and it's antibacterial. So this is not going to be your number one punch for any of this. This is not the one to go to first for any of them, but this is a great supporting role for any of these other stronger ones. Moving along, we have elderberry. I'm leaving this one close to last because if you look in the news, everyone's talking about elderberry. Elderberry syrup, elderberry tincture, elderberry, 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 about flus. It's true. And that's one of the biggest things I want to get across today, is that the clinical studies for elderberry have been coming in droves from Johns Hopkins and a lot of the other teaching institutions, that this herb, elderberries, is helping with the flu, sometimes better than pharmaceutical medicine. So my suggestion is around September of every year, make sure you have this on hand, because this time of year, it's going to be very difficult to find it. go to YouTube, learn how to make your own syrup with honey. There's a million different ways you can take this on its own and make your own flu medication. So if your son comes home, says, hey, 3 kids just went out with the flu, you want to take that syrup and give it to them 3, 4, even 5 times a day to help build it up and hopefully kick it before it gets started. So you can look this up on your own too, but this is something you definitely want to have, especially if you have children, in your pantry during flu season. Now the last one I'm going to talk about is stevia. A lot of us know stevia as that little white powder that's replacing sugar. And that's exactly what this is. However, I like to use this for flavoring as well. So here's your valerian root, here's your stevia. This won't taste like dirt anymore, it'll taste like sugar. With the stevia, it helps with diabetic patients, it helps lower blood sugar, things of that nature. This isn't really used for any of the 3, but this is always good to have on hand if you want to make a tea for your child or someone that's extremely picky. Everyone can usually do something sweet, so you take this, the herb, some honey, and you mask it. So now with the herbs, what happens, you have all these bags in your pantry and you're ready to go, but you don't know what to do. So there's a few ways to go about it. My favorite is these mugs. They're $13 on Amazon. It's just a mug with a little strainer, and the strainer is just normal size and you hang it there and you start pouring the herbs in. You want to go to about here, 3/4, and then you put hot water in it. You put the top on and you let it go. Now, I let it seep anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. I usually have this as part of my nighttime routine. You know, I go to the kitchen, I get my tea, put my tea there, I sit there, I put the tub on, I go run some, errands around, making sure the kids are okay, and then that's my go to bed tea. Anything less than 10 minutes on this, you're not going to get the full medical benefit of the tea, and you're not going to get the full taste either. So that's just something to keep in mind. The other option is a tea ball. They sell them anywhere. Target, you buy tea from us, we send you a bunch of these anyway. And you put your dried herb in, and you just put it in the mug, and then hang it. So if you're going to use a tea ball, and you're going to use all these, my suggestion is to get another mason jar and make your own blend up. So let's say this doesn't have a lot of lavender in it at all. You have a mason jar, here's your lavender, and add all of these into it as one, and then shake it up and make your own blend, and then put the blend in there. Because if you were to try to take even 4 of these different herbs and stick it in here, it wouldn't work. So that is my little herbal talk for today. As we're going through our new year with digestive issues and sleep and anxiety, the new year's always brings a lot of anxiety because we do these resolutions and we have all of these big goals for ourselves that sometimes, as I've said in blogs, are unattainable. And we just kind of have to sit back and be gentle with ourselves and say, okay, what is attainable? So let's start with the 3 things that people complain about the most. Their stomachs, which usually comes from nerves, sleep and anxiety, again, back to nerves, and then your immunity, which if you're not sleeping and your stomach and your gut aren't working properly, your immunity is going to go down. So they're all tied together, just like all these herbs are tied together. So keep that in the back of your head. Be gentle with yourself. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And as we start going through this video series of how to and what things are, if there's something you want to talk about or you want me to address, please just, drop us a line and we'll look at it, because Melissa, my marketing manager, she's a slave driver. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me. Till then, see you later. Good?
Yes, master.